What's up, everybody? So today we're going to be installing a new steering wheel on my 2015 Focus ST. So I have an NRG short hub adapter plate. So pretty much this is going to allow me to connect an aftermarket steering wheel to the steering assembly. So and you have to get it specific to your car most of the time, and this one was made for the ST. So yeah, we'll just get right into it. Just remember, the first thing you have to do whenever you're working with pretty much anything electrical on the car is to disconnect the battery, especially because we're going to be dealing with an airbag. So yeah, just remember to disconnect your battery. Alright, so now that you have the battery disconnected, we can actually move on to the interior and start disassembling the steering column and getting access to behind the steering wheel where you release the airbag from the middle of the steering wheel. Alright, so to get the best angle on the screws down here on the bottom of the steering column, you're going to want to kind of bring it upwards and out so that way you can get better access to these. And then there's going to be another torque screw up here. And you're going to want a T20 and a T25 either screwdriver, or you can use like a T20, T25 bit on my little ratchet. And the top one is going to be a T25 actually. It is right here. Just take that one out. And then there's going to be two down here. And I believe this one is the T25, or it could be the T20. No, this is the T25 one. So you take that out, and then there's going to be one way back here. We'll cut to a clip of it later so you can see exactly where it is, but it's going to be right here. And then I believe this one is the T20. Yeah. Alright, so I have an access port right there, so I'm just going to take it and move it out of the way. That way we're not struggling here. Let me hop in real quick. So you're going to want to take the bottom portion off first, and basically just kind of pull on it, and it should disconnect from the steering column with a little persuasion, and it comes off just like that. And then the top piece should be free as well, so you just set it up here. Now this gains access to the airbag releases back here, and you can only get to those if the wheel is turned. And I'll go into more detail about how you release the airbag when we have the wheel off, because it's kind of hard to, you know, get it on camera because it's a bad angle. So I'm just going to work on getting the airbag out, and then I'll show you when we have the steering wheel off how to properly do that. Alright, so airbag is free. I'm going to turn the wheel again. So, alright. So I already took this off prior to recording this video, so my airbag plugs are already disconnected. But pretty much all you need to do to disconnect those is take a flathead and then pry up on these orange little plates here. Boop. And then they should just unplug from the airbag itself. And then when you take the airbag out, there's going to be these two horn wires. One's for the contact surface and the other one is for like to engage it. So you just want to pull that off there. Alright, cool. So now airbag's out. Just be careful with this, because I mean it is explosive, so just put it in a safe place. So there's going to be pretty much just two plugs. One for the heated steering wheel and then one for all the controls over here. You're going to want to push down the tab, and then this one just comes out like that. And then same thing with this one. It's pretty simple, they're just normal plugs. little tab release, and it comes out just like that. So once you have all that out, you can work on taking this center nut out, or center bolt out. And the center bolt is a 24 millimeter. So we have that right here. And we are going to remove the steering wheel. Just like that. Oop. All right, so now that we have the wheel off, to make sure that your airbag light does not come on, it's recommended that you put resistors inside of these holes, or somehow wire it into the harness itself. But we're just gonna plug in 3.3 ohm resistors into the 2 plug holes, and that should keep the airbag light from coming on when we start the car. I'm gonna reconnect the battery right now, just so we can see if the airbag light will come back on. So yeah. All right, so pretty much what the concept of this is you stick the prongs of the resistors into the holes there for the airbag sensor, or the airbag wires. It's not the best way, or the most professional way of doing it, but it will work. And we're gonna put them in, and we're gonna insulate them as well. That way we're being as jank as this is, we're still gonna be trying to do it at least somewhat safe. So let's see, it should go in. I'll try to crimp it a little bit more. But yeah, you understand the concept. We're just putting the resistors in and then seeing if the light turns on. All right, so we're at Ben's house, and he has resistors, but we couldn't find the exact ones that we were looking for. We need a 3.3 ohm 1/4 watt resistor for both of these, and pretty much you have to crimp the ends, stick them in these individual holes here. So you have one resistor here, one resistor here, and that should keep your airbag light off. But we're gonna do it at a later date just because we don't have the correct resistors, but we can still install the steering wheel. But before you do it, there's these 2 arrows right here, and this is going to be for the signal release. For like when you use your signal, it'll know when to release the signal after turning. So you have to line these arrows up before you put the wheel or anything on. So we're ready to stick her on. All right, so I'm gonna align these wires in a way so that they will be out of the way, so that when I put the steering wheel on, it'll cover them, but it won't interfere with this mechanism here. So just gonna realign it. Right there, we should be good to go. All right, so now that you have the hub and the wheel installed, I understand that this isn't gonna have a horn, only because this is just for basically the base of it. Usually you would have a quick release or like another hub extension where you can wire in a horn. But for this car, unfortunately, the horn harness is built into all of the controls onto the steering wheel. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to bypass all of this. That way I can still use my horn when I decide to wire in the horn at a later date, but I'm probably not going to use it. But once you have the steering wheel on and everything put together, pretty much you just start putting everything back into place, putting all the screws back into place, and then you'll be good to go. All right, so once you get all the plastic trim back in place, you can begin installing the little screws that you took out, and then at that point you'll be finished. Like I said though, this is just what I wanted to do. I didn't really want to run a quick release, but if I wanted to wire in the horn, I'd have to figure out a way to modify the harness. That way I could run it. And when it comes to the airbag, I'm gonna get to that at a later date, because this isn't really hard to take off, and you can get to the wires right there once you take the wheel off. And once I get the correct resistors, then it'll be ready to go. and we can have no airbag light, and all my airbags will work. Yeah, so let me just get this all done up and then we'll get back to you. Alright, so we went ahead and got the correct ohm resistors, and with the correct wattage. It's going to be a 3.3 ohm resistor with a quarter watt I guess tolerance, and like I said earlier, you want to put one in each of the plug-in holes, and then that should clear the airbag light. But we're not just going to leave them open like this. We're going to obviously insulate it with electrical tape, just kind of, I guess, make it cleaner, because this isn't like the most professional way to do it, but it's what we're going to do. So let's see if it turns the light off. Alright, so pretty much the main reason why I wanted to I guess get the airbag light off is because I don't know if this is how it works with most cars, but with this car, if you in any way, like, I guess, tamper with the airbag system, or, you know, the airbag light is on, or there's a gap in the circuit for the airbags anywhere, none of your airbags work. So yeah, say that like I just didn't do this, or like any modifications to make the sensors believe that the airbag was still here. If I got in an accident or something happened where my airbags would deploy, none of my airbags would work. So like, say if I get hit from the side or like from the front in any way, none of my airbags would work. So I kind of didn't want to go driving around like that. So in this case, I went ahead and did this. I saw this on the internet. I mean, this was the easiest way of doing it, but you know, it's not the most professional, but you know, it's gonna work for me, and that's the way I'm gonna do it. So yeah, we should be good. All right, so I'm gonna start the car just to show you guys that it actually did work. So there you go, airbag light. It stayed off, so we're good to go. Alright, so now that we have the factory steering wheel out, we can kind of, you know, get a better view of how to release the airbag. So just to give you a better idea, there's these little metal clips in here, and there's another one over here on this side right here, and you're going to want to take the flathead, if you can focus it or see it at all. You're going to want to push the metal clip that way, and then as you're doing that, you're going to want to pull the airbag, and that'll release that side. And then you're going to want to do the same on this side. Just push that little metal clip this way, and then boom, airbag comes out. So that kind of gives you a better idea of how this comes out. That way you're not struggling with it. Alright, so that's pretty much it. It's not too complicated. You just have to know like where you're trying to disconnect the airbag. That's probably the hardest part. You just have to know how to disengage those clips. But I mean, hopefully this video helped you out. But yeah, it looks pretty good. I think it's a good aesthetic to the car. You know, it kind of adds a little race car feel to it. But like I said, we're gonna situate that airbag situation at a later date, just because we don't have the proper resistors for that. But yeah, we'll get to that part eventually. So yeah, like I said, it's pretty straightforward. I hope that helps any of the ST owners out there, because I had a really hard time finding a video of how to uninstall the factory steering wheel, and it's kind of complicated. But once you get it, it's pretty simple, you know, to put the aftermarket wheel on and all that stuff. But hope you enjoyed. I hope it was helpful. And if you have any questions, or you're kind of confused or stuck or anything, just remember you can always comment, and we'll get right back to you. And remember, if you want more content from us, just remember to subscribe, and hopefully we helped you out with this. See you in the next video.